does spending money on people actually make you happy? Because the question, it seems like when you first asked me this, was, can money buy happiness?
So I asked 10 of our friends, would you rather have an unexpected $50 Amazon gift card or 50 minutes of therapy? Welcome back to Something More Human, the show about human connection in the digital age.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Elliot. If a $50 gift card fell in your lap, could it get you out of your rut? Could it shift your current perspective of your life? Might it cause you to begin dreaming of the future in positive ways? Sounds a little dramatic for $50. I thought so too. Until I won a $50 Amazon gift card at work. All day I looked forward to getting home just to peruse Amazon to see what my options were. I began thinking about things that I wanted versus things that I needed. I thought about picking up Alex G's new record or buying a nice deep blue cotton button-up for the summer. Kid size.
Pro tip.
14 to 16. It's like $17. But then I began thinking about how much I'd been talking to Sam about investing in making our apartment feel more like ours. And I thought about the conversation about the empty corner by the kitchen, how he wanted to fill it with a lamp and plants to bring that part of the apartment to life. So I started looking at lamps, and to my surprise, there were some nice lamps that my gift card could afford. That felt nice. I imagined what that space would look like, but with more specificity. I was manifesting the space, you could say. But was I thinking about the $50 the wrong way the entire time? It highlighted my selfish desires. Not one time did I think about spending it on someone else, including Sam. I'm sorry, Sam.
I forgive you.
So it prompted me to consider if I would be happier or more fulfilled spending it in a different way. So I asked 10 of our friends, would you rather have an unexpected $50 Amazon gift card or 50 minutes of therapy? One of my friends who chose the gift card said he heard about a study where people were given $10 to see if it would boost their happiness. Now, mind you, the study was in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
The 10 back then is the new, 25 now probably. Yeah. The group that spent it on themselves did not feel any happier, but the ones told to spend it on someone else, like buying lunch for a stranger or a gift for a friend, actually felt happier. And if I hadn't asked that question, if I hadn't received the gift card, this episode probably wouldn't exist. And now I'm asking you, Samantha. I've waited until the live recording to ask you, what would you choose? The $50 Amazon gift card or 50 minutes of therapy? And why? And how would you spend it? No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. It's interesting because when you ask me this question, it feels like you're asking me, do I value my mental health less than I value some kind of capitalistic desire?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I see both sides. It's really hard. I see both sides because on one hand, you and I have a unique position where we have a couples therapist who knows us very well, who we don't see regularly anymore. But if we ever need her help or like need a session, we can pop on for one a la carte session and it's really valuable versus starting with a brand new therapist. Like one session really isn't going to be super impactful. So there's more value to me in my own experience, in my personal needs with our relationship with our therapist that makes that really valuable. I also pride myself on being an exceptional gift giver, and your birthday is this week. So I'm thinking a lot about gifting.
So should I give you my $50 Amazon gift card so that you can get me something?
And you have explicitly asked me to not get you a gift this year, which is, for whatever reason, deeply challenging for me. So I kind of feel like I would pick the $50.
Okay.
I don't know.
7 out of the 10 friends chose the gift card. To my surprise. Now, it might be important to understand for the audience why they chose what they chose, but for the sake of the episode, we're going to focus on the numbers for now. So 70% of the people that we asked, I feel like obviously 10 is not sufficient enough for any sort of study, right? But for our life, for the people that we know, for the immediacy of getting responses back from 10 people versus me reaching out to every single person I follow on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, the sample size is pretty small. So I think it's a perfect opportunity now to ask you if you're listening. And I want to know, we want to know. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, please leave a comment letting us know. And if you're just listening, you can DM us on Instagram or leave us a voicemail on our website. Are you surprised that 7 people chose the Amazon gift card. I think what you said earlier is really important because I think there might be some people wondering or hoping that you and I aren't advocating for money being more important than mental health. And I think the point for me, receiving the $50 gift card unexpectedly felt like a therapy session. That's what it felt like to me.
Because it gave you that like mental reset, reframe.
It just gave me so many things. I mean, this episode, had I not asked my friends this question and had my friend not responded and sent me that study, we wouldn't be asking each other and you these questions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that study was pretty illuminating for both of us.
You know that I'm obsessed with studies and I absolutely love to dig into research. And as I was doing preparation for this episode, it made me think about the 5 love languages. And one of the love language is gift giving. There's not a love language which is gift receiving, which I think is really, really interesting. The way that we spend our money in this intentional way has nothing to do with ourselves, but everything to do with other people. So it made me ask myself, does spending money on people actually make you happy? Because the question, it seems like when you first asked me this, was, can money buy happiness? And once your needs are met, thinking of kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we've talked before, once those foundational needs are met, your income and your happiness are no longer related. So my first instinct is to say no. This study actually says yes, but it's not about spending money on yourself. It's about spending it on other people.
Do you ever think about how many people really agree with that conclusion, though? Like reading that study, like how many people would agree with the conclusion that essentially, oh, well, if I were to make more money, I wouldn't be any happier. Like, of course, I'm assuming, I'm projecting, I'm assuming that many people might find that study not alarming, but maybe like out of touch.
Sure.
Right? And I just had I wrote that it was a conspiracy that maybe these studies are secretly funded by whoever runs the underrated engine of destruction, which is capitalism, and that you should just spend what little money you do have on other people besides yourself, but do indeed keep spending your money and not saving it and not investing it. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think that, well, tell me what you think. Do you think that that's true? Do you think if we made 20 or 30 or 40,000 more dollars that essentially we might not be much happier because of the studies that have been done, and that if we just spent more money on other people, that would make us happier?
I think anecdotally, when I consider the money that we have and the way that we live our life, my instinct is to say I would for sure be happier doing more stuff with you, like having more beer out during the summer and eating out more often, because those are things that I love to do. And that's all selfish money that we spend on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So my brain for sure goes there. Like, no, I would definitely be happier with more money. But what's fascinating is that the same way that we systematically underestimate how valuable and pleasurable it is to talk to strangers, which is something we've talked about in a previous episode, this study outlines that a significant majority of the participants said that they thought personal spending would make them happier than spending it on somebody else, or what they're calling pro-social spending. But it turns out that that is not true. Even $5, $20 makes a big difference. And when I think back to $50 can feel like a lot of money. Like, I'm maybe not going to Venmo my friend $50. But last year for my birthday, we had a friend Venmo me $10. And she said, "Happy birthday, buy a drink on me." $10 is not that much money. That's what I would spend on a coffee out, right? Plus tip. That felt so meaningful and felt so personal, and so it made me feel so seen, right? And that's not a huge dent in my budget. And again, once your basic needs are met, this study also shares that happiness levels have remained largely flat within developed countries across the recent decades, even though income levels have gone up as inflation goes up. So in developed countries where people are making a certain amount of money that meet their needs and beyond, there's a large group of studies that shows past that threshold, it's not making a huge difference when you're spending it on yourself.
Sure. The unfortunate part is that a lot of people probably aren't at that threshold. And that makes it maybe more difficult to think about or change your perspective of the money that you do have to spend on yourself. Like, oh, I already didn't have a lot of money. Now you're telling me I should spend it on other people. And no, we're not really telling you that, but evidence suggests that even, like you were saying, whatever the amount is, a very small amount, is enough to potentially make you happier in small bursts, which if you're doing it more consistently, could make you more happier over time.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about $50, if my options are treat a friend to dinner or like buy groceries for my family, I'm going to choose to spend it on myself and I'm going to choose groceries.
Of course.
But this article says as little as $5 was proven to be sufficient to increase someone's happiness on a given day. So I think especially on days where you might be feeling down, or you might be feeling in a funk, you might be feeling like you're just not quite satisfied with whatever it is in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Could you buy somebody a coffee? Could you Venmo your friend $5? And maybe $5 doesn't cover something, but if I was going to spend $10 on a drink and I decided not to because it was too expensive and someone Venmoed me half, I might feel empowered to treat myself in that way as a result of this gift that I received, you know? I think oftentimes I can think about gift cards. Like when you tell me, Sam, do you want $50 Amazon? I'm like, well, all of the things that I really, really want are stuff for like audiobook narrating, and they're really expensive.
Yeah.
Like really expensive mics, really expensive coaching. And
So
I'm
we're
like,
gonna
well,
put a dent.
yeah, I'm like $50 isn't enough. So
Right.
like maybe I want therapy instead. I don't know. But if I don't think about it that way and I don't think about, oh, what I contribute to somebody or gift them has to cover everything,
Mm-hmm.
it might just be the drop in the bucket that inspires them to treat themselves to that thing they otherwise wouldn't get. That can also, I think, that perspective shift enables me to be a little bit more generous in that way.
I'm just thinking about $5 and how irrelevant and meaningless it seems sometimes. But if a friend of mine right now were to gift me a Mountain Dew Code Red, I would feel the utmost love by that friend and would be extremely grateful and probably drink all of it in one sitting.
I think this is also a way that we connect with our friends that don't live close. We're just taking a quick break to thank you for being here. It really means a lot to us. If you can follow and subscribe to the show on the platform that you're listening or watching, that would really help us and also help people find the show. We love to hear from you. So if you can give us a 5-star rating and write a thoughtful review on Apple, or you can also leave us a voicemail down in the description. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for being here.
Back to the show.
Proximity plays a huge role in our relationships, right? So if I can see you for your birthday and buy you a drink, of course I'm going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't live near you and I still want you to feel loved and seen by me, I don't know, I often discount gift cards. Like, oh, that's so unimaginative. Oh, that's so like a cop-out and lame.
You already have the evidence in this episode, though, because
Exactly.
you said if someone sent you a $10 Venmo, your friend sent you Venmo last year for your birthday, and you're talking about it now. So obviously it meant something too. So could we stand to send our friends every now and then $5 or $10? There doesn't need to be a special occasion. In fact, that's probably when it's the least expected and probably the most valued, right? Like not for someone's birthday. I'm not saying that your friend, that the friend that gave that to that's not valuable. Of course it is. But I'm just saying $5 can go a long way any time of day. Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, this is not much, but like, have a coffee in the morning on me. So, or a Mountain Dew Code Red. Somehow, some way, last week, I saw 2 gentlemen about the same age within 5 minutes of each other getting out of their cars with their families, holding Mountain Dew. It's like they couldn't leave the Mountain Dew in the car. It was at the farmer's market on South Pearl. 2 people, 2 grown men, in the span of 5 minutes were getting out of their vehicles, walking with a 16-ounce Mountain Dew. Do you not find that fascinating?
I think it's like when you're going to buy a car and then you start to see it everywhere. Like you're so locked in on Mountain Dew for whatever reason that you just see it.
Twice in, I don't know.
I would have
in 5
never
minutes.
noticed.
So I started, as I always do, reflecting on time when thinking about this episode, because it's also something that we spend, right? We're always spending time doing something. In fact, time seems to be more capitalistic in nature than money itself. Capitalism to most of us means consuming relentlessly. That's, in my opinion, what capitalism is. And every choice that we seem to make involves money in one way or another. And because of that, we're never really taught to like manage it well. We're never taught to, in high school, we could have been taught how to budget and how to invest and how to save, right? And we just weren't. And I think that's for a reason. But at least while it is possible to save our money, you can't save time. You can only spend time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, am I also spending too much of my own time on myself? Like, what might happen if I spent my time with other people? And how much time do I really even have? For the longest time, I've been really hard on myself because I know that it affects you. But Sam and I have been budgeting ever since we got married
Mm-hmm.
because we were super broke. And that was just always something that I did from very early on. I was dating someone when I was like 16 or 17, and she was going out of the country and invited me. And I was like, well, I don't have any money. There's no way I could possibly save that money in that amount of time and go with you. And I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that moment on, I became just obsessed with budgeting. Like, could I find a way to do this or that thing? And so anyway, you and I budget relentlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be heavy sometimes. It can be annoying sometimes because it seems like we're always thinking about money because we always want to make sure that we're not running out of it. As a result of doing that, though, what happened is that I was able to, during the planning of this episode, audit my spending, which then had me realizing how much time I was spending on myself. The great thing about budgeting is that you can see how you spend your time. You can see what you spend your money on. It's right there in your face. And so it doesn't matter what you think you want to do with your money. It doesn't matter how you think you live your life in the way that you spend your money. Like, it reveals to you how you live your life at the end of the month when all is said and done, right? And so I was also thinking about time. Like, how am I spending my time? So I did some math. So I was like, okay, if there's 744 hours in a month, how am I spending them? So I started from the top. I spend 248 of them sleeping. That's 8 hours a day. I like to sleep. I sleep
You
8 hours a
sleep.
day.
Do
Well,
you not sleep more?
You think I sleep longer because I will usually fall asleep on the couch because Sam goes to bed at like 10:30, and about half the time over the last maybe few months, or maybe more than half the time, I don't go to bed at 10 when you do, or 10:30. I'll stay on the couch. So you have no idea when I'm falling asleep. Sometimes I fall asleep.
That's what I'm asking you.
Sometimes I fall asleep at midnight. Sometimes I fall asleep at 1. Sometimes earlier. Sometimes I go to bed with you. But for all intents and purposes, I'm getting about 8 hours of sleep at least.
Okay.
I spent 248 out of the 744 hours sleeping. I spent 120 of them at the coffee shop working.
Mm-hmm.
I spent 6 of them doing chores.
In a month?
6 hours, about 6 hours doing chores. 6 hours is only, I think that's 10 minutes. Hold on, what is the math? If there's 6 times
That's
6 is
20 minutes a day.
360 minutes. It's like 10 minutes a day doing chores-ish.
20 minutes a day.
No, I don't think so.
Six hours divided by 30 days.
6 hours.
20 minutes a day.
Are you right? Okay, it's 20 minutes a day. You don't think I do 20 minutes a day of chores?
I think we do more.
Oh, you think we do more than 20 minutes? See what I mean? So, okay, so I'm cutting it short. 5 of them driving. I drive more than I realize now that I am driving to the coffee shop. And at least 5 of them pooping. Maybe 6.
Probably more, yeah.
So, not counting all the other things that happen during life, that is 362 hours left per month. Or about half of my time is already gone after all is said and done. But we did forget one major category. What is that one major category that I forgot?
Fucking off on your phone.
Screen time. I looked at my screen time for the month of May. By now, I think everyone realizes that I have a phone problem. I admit that. And I still do, apparently. In May, I was on my phone for an average right under 6 hours a day. So if we're doing the math, 6 hours a day, I think it was like 550 or 540.
6 hours a day?
6 hours a day is 180 hours in May. So my time got cut in half again. They say how you spend your day is how you spend your life. And I would say that's mostly true, but it depends on the day, right? Like sometimes you're not doing something that you normally do. So I think how you spend a month is certainly how you spend your life, which means I'm spending 25% of my life on my phone, which for some people that's great. Some people they're happy to do that. But I think the point that I'm trying to make is that I could probably spend at least half that time doing things for other people.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Do you think that you spend your time wisely? Do you think that you spend your time mostly on yourself, or are you spending enough of your time investing in friendships? I think of all times in your life, you're spending it with friends more than you ever have.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that I'm spending my time the most intentionally that I ever have. Because I'm actually spending a lot more time alone, which is something that I've never really craved or wanted in my life. But I'm also taking a lot of time to put social things in the calendar. And I'm in a phase where I'm working a lot. And I think that if I didn't have a reflective practice, I would talk myself into saying, oh, I basically work like the light hours of the day, which feels like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then that feels like once the sun goes down, I feel like the day is over and it's escaped me and I haven't done anything.
Mm.
But when I reflect back on even just 1 week, my social calendar is actually extremely robust.
It really is.
And so there's a double side to that. One side is the actual intentionality of practicing that. And then the other side is the intentionality of reflecting on it, which is also what you're saying. You spent time looking back on the last 30 days. Intentional activities is something that came up in this article. Intentional activities, which are, for our purposes, practices in which people actively and effortfully choose to engage, may represent a more promising route to lasting happiness. Supporting this premise, their study demonstrates that people choose to spend their money, and for us also time. How they do that is as important as just how much money they make.
Mm.
So what you actually do with
Wow.
it is just as important as the thing that's coming in, the number in your bank account.
So with all this information, what would a perfect government do? Would a perfect government give all of its citizens $50 a month to spend on themselves and also $50 a month to spend on other people? And you couldn't really track that, so maybe it would be an honor system. And in this perfect world, everyone does... I was going to say, in this perfect world, everyone does what the government tells them to do. But they would because they trust their government, because the government is a perfect government, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I think that there would be some kind of philanthropic culture shift. Because right now, I think that there is a lot of hesitancy around like large organizations, even if they have a good cause.
Mm-hmm.
You shared a stat with me, which was one of the top 6 predictors of life satisfaction. Across 1 million people globally. So when I look at studies, I'm always looking at sample size. 100 people, like meh. Over 1 million people. This is excellent data. Shows that pro-social spending in the form of charitable giving is one of the top 6 predictors of life satisfaction globally. So if we could engage in a culture where that was more promoted, that felt more meaningful, I think generally speaking, everybody would be more satisfied and a little bit happier.
Donald Trump, take notes, man. Take notes.
What would your perfect government do?
Just keep it simple. Like I said, I think giving people the option to spend, giving people an unexpected $50 at some point during the month, and giving them $50 a month to spend on other people. Now, might that change the stats? Might people value the gift less because they know the government's giving it to the person to give to them? I guess that's not the point. The point at that point, it would be about the intention, right? But I think the least our government could do after spending 1.2 or whatever it is, $1.4 trillion a month or a year on the defense budget is to give its citizens a little money here and there to, if you're not going to give them enough money to live comfortably, at least give them a little snack.
I feel like in your situation, we are meeting those basic needs, and then this is kind of a surplus.
Sure, because they'd be perfect, right?
Yeah.
350 million Americans getting $50 a month is $17.5 billion. $17.5 billion
times 12.
$210 billion a year. That's kind of a lot of money, but like, could we take $210 billion out of the defense budget and still be free? Still keep the flag flying, the eagles roaring? Soaring?
Money is really, really weird and hard to talk about. And so, as a result of that, we often shy away from A, having these conversations, and B, engaging in pro-social spending. So spending money on other people or giving our money away in this fashion.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, if we leaned into pro-social spending, talking about money, sharing our money, it actually proves to be a really potent vehicle for accomplishing our interpersonal goals, strengthening our relationships.
Damn right.
See you in the next one.
See you guys.
Love you guys.